Welcome to another manga recap. I want to start by quickly saying thank you for the support on the last video, which was way more than I expected. Today's video will be about Ending Maker Part 1. I personally loved it. It's one of the best comedic duos I've seen in an isekai. Without further ado, enjoy the video. It was just a normal day. Our main character was enjoying his free time playing some video games. He opens the login screen of his favorite game and starts typing in his account. Connecting to the game. Login successful. Welcome, user Outboxer009. And there it was, the world that he loved the most out of all the games that he ever played. Without even enough time to open his eyes, he can hear a notification sound. Right as he logged in. Seeing that he logged in, multiple players were chatting and were calling him a no-lifer. He promptly answers that this is rich coming from somebody who's rotting away in the same game. Alright then, what should they do today? Before he manages to start his activities, he gets another notification sound. Another player called YellowStorm was talking to him. Was he finally prepared to drop down to the second place on this month? An evil grin appears on his face. Drop on the second place, huh? Okay. It looked like he was thinking that will never happen, but just in case he was going to check this month's ranking. Legend of Heroes 2. Despite having launched over 10 years ago, it was such a well-made game that there were still a lot of players remaining. It was a system that lets the user select a playable character inside the game's world. And also, the playable character will be nurtured to the user's preference. Furthermore, based on the achievements that you accomplish in game, a ranking occurs each month. Entering the Hall of Fame. It just so happened that that day was today. Upon joining the lobby, he notices that more players were already there waiting. Seeing him approaching, the girls were smiling and waving at him. Player rank 95, romantic head Cordelia Chase. She was instigating them a bit, saying that she wondered if there was going to be an upset this month. Player number 2, YellowStorm, Cordelia Chase player. Oh, okay, so I understand. Basically, they started the game with the same character, but because they were different players, the characters looked the same, but they had like the same starting story, I think. What was she saying? She was going to be rank 1 this time. Even so, Outboxer was as calm as they get. Taking his glasses out, he does, I quote, "the greatest genius pose in the history, blasphemous to the gods themselves." What was she talking about? She was the eternal rank 2 YellowStorm. Hearing that, she gets angry and starts yelling, saying that this time will be different. Of course, he was still laughing at her, saying that he will permit her to dream as much as she wanted. A notification interrupts them, saying that this month's results are coming up. Rank 1, Outboxer009, 23 consecutive months. Rank 2, YellowStorm, 22 consecutive months. Seeing the results, everyone stops talking for a second. Of course, seeing that YellowStorm was as triggered as you could be. Obviously, the chat was flooded with messages with everybody laughing on the situation. YellowStorm was saying that the difference was only 800 points. He already knew that, but how was she not able to raise those 800 points? YellowStorm replies, but she gets chat censored. Extremely severe profanity is restricted. She types another message, but she gets chat restricted again. The other players were losing it seeing that. While she was still angry and flaming, Outboxer says, "I'm going to bed, good night. I hope you dream about me, damn." The other girl was trying to calm her down, saying that she will get chat restricted at this rate. Before finishing her sentence, she notices that both of them were gone. Seeing that, the rest of the lobby was absolutely losing it. Both of them left in the same time. User Kang Jino has entered the plates. User Hong Yue has entered the plates. The silence is interrupted by somebody screaming. A young man was sitting in a chair coughing really bad. Something was very wrong. He couldn't breathe properly and his vision was blurry. It felt like he also had a very high fever. Where was he right now? Trying to get up, he was getting dizzier and dizzier. Even so, he musters the strength to start walking towards the mirror. Just what in the world was going on? Did he catch a cold or something? Without enough time to finish his sentence, he catches a glimpse of his reflection. This was his Legend of Heroes 2 character, a young version of that. Wait, this was a mirror, so that was him. and once again he felt a very strong pain in his head. Dizzier and dizzier, he grabs the table in order to not fall down on the ground. Information was flowing into his head. The plates were the heroes of Legend of Heroes 2 Adventure, a fantasy world where nations wage war with each other's nations. And also, demons and angels descend into the world. It was hard to believe, but it looked like he entered into the game. And what's worse, he was the formal frail Yuder Bale. He was absolutely sure that face definitely belonged to the character that he played as Outboxer 009. He was the second son of the house renowned for their swordsmanship, the Bale House's Yuder Bale. Out of nowhere, he gets interrupted by somebody calling for him. It looked like that person wanted to enter the room. This completely crossed his mind. He forgot that he was actually a young master now. Hearing no response, the maid decides to enter the room. He didn't know what to say. It was a very awkward situation. Seeing that he was actually there, she apologizes for being rude. She assumed that he left the room since there was no response. This girl was Maya, Ruder Bale's personal maid. He tried to keep a calm appearance, but in reality he was brainstorming as hard as he could. He starts thinking about who this girl was, Bale's house blonde maid, and if it was Yuder Bale's district maid, her name was Maya. Once again, acting normal, he says that it was nothing, so what did she want from him? He had no idea what was going on, but he should try and calm down. She came to find him because the lady whom he had an engagement ceremony has come for a visit. In the Bale house drawing room, it looked like a young girl was sitting in a chair. She was getting more and more annoyed. What was taking so long? Upon hearing a step, she flinches. He had to forget about his fluttering heart. It was important to meet other people to understand the current situation. Seeing him approaching, the girl was closely watching him. He bows down like a gentleman, saying that he is Outbox. He meant that he was the second son of the Bale house. He raises his head slowly, glancing at the girl, who was in total shock. Both of them understood what was going on in an instant. Both Outerbox 009 and YellowStorm were transported into the game. Of course, upon realizing that, they were in total shock. While they were trying to recover, the maid notices that something looks wrong. It looked like none of them were pleased by having the other one there as well. Wait, did that mean that he was engaged to some bastard that was a man in his previous life? What was he saying? She was originally a girl as well. He looks confused at her. He had no idea. Okay, for now, they just had to calm down. Cordelia Chase would be there because she was engaged with Yuder Bale. So why did YellowStorm come to his mind? Okay, wait, I get it. He doesn't realize that it's YellowStorm yet. They just assumed when seeing each other. Okay, that makes sense. Trying to defuse the situation, he approaches the girl and sits on a chair. The silence was absolutely devastating. The first thing he needed to do was to test her. Without saying anything else, he says the start of her real life name to see her reaction. And indeed, she had a reaction. He could read her like a book. It was such an obvious reaction. There was a lot he wanted to ask, but since there was other people there, they needed to find a place to talk privately. He says cooperation initialization time. Hearing that, it looked like the girl understood. Left of the entrance, column 9 at 9 o'clock. That code was from Legend of Heroes 2. And left to the entrance, column 9 at 9 o'clock meant that he wanted to meet at 12 AM at his house's garden. But the real question now was, did she understand him? Was she really YellowStorm? The girl simply gets up saying, Roger. Turning around, she orders her assistant to go. Obviously, she was confused looking at both of them, but she started following her. Watching her slowly leave, he says that he will wait the day they meet again, Miss Cordelia. His maid was confused as well, just what happened? He replies laughing a bit, saying that it's fine. It was nothing. In reality, he was thinking that he was going to lose his mind. Even the way he talked was the way YellowStorm talked. A little bit later that day, the night covered the city. The sky was clear, the stars were shining, and it looked like this world had 2 moons. This really was the north. It was so chilly despite being summer. Now, the question was, did YellowStorm get there properly? Right as he says that, he manages to spot her. He takes a step towards her direction and calls out her name. She turns around and takes off her cloak. It looked like she also knew who he was. Both of them starts walking to each other. Smiling at her, he asks her if he could say something that he was thinking about that time they met. Laughing a bit, she says that she has an idea of what he was going to ask. The guy slowly raises his hand. Hey, you too? Yep, her as well. Wait, why is the guy behind her? I don't get it. Was she a guy or a girl? And once again, the silence was unbearable. Okay, they had to stop messing around and get to business. When did she wake up? 2 days ago, when she opened her eyes, she was suddenly in the Blades. What about him? He thinks it was 2 days ago as well. Why was he so unsure? It couldn't be helped, didn't she know about Udell Bile's constitution? The 9 blocked-in pathways, an illness that arises from an abnormal level of yin-ki. This was a problem that occurs with their blood vessels, which limits one ki's circulation. Their body becomes extremely weak and it becomes impossible for them to use mana. On top of that, it was extremely difficult to get the remedy. Now that he was thinking about it, this was a little unfair. Why did he have to be Udell Bile? Even though he had the talent to overcome the illness. Even so, he was a bit annoyed. It would have been much better if he became a cheat character like Maximilian. He was really sick 2 days ago, saying some weird things while unconscious. Weird things? What do you mean by that? From what he heard from Maya, he asked where he was. So that's why he was so unsure of the last 2 days. In that moment, she had a realization. So basically he was saying that right now he was sick. She came to meet him that day, but why did they have to meet secretly out there? Didn't he know how hard it was for a grown lady to escape without their parents knowing? What, did she expect him to jump a fence or something? He was sick. And also, since when was he a lady? Okay, she looks at him a bit confused. Since she was born? Hearing that, he was absolutely shocked. So, YellowStorm was a girl. Also confused, she asked him, then you were a boy. What does she mean? Of course he was a boy. Then, of course she was a girl. She just didn't say anything since it felt unnecessary. He really had no idea, but he accepts the situation. Also, of course he would be confused if she went around saying Roger. That was a military term. In any case, he asked her to not be mad. There was another reason he told her to come to his house. His father, Count Bale, took his brothers and vassals on an expedition. So the mansion was basically quite empty right now, slimming their chances of getting caught. He did remember sending them off, so he was certain. Wait, this was wrong. What was he talking about? Remembering sending them off. Surprisingly calm, she asks him if he's like that as well. He's become the character from the game he no-lifed for such a long time. First, she felt that they were inside the game. But as it went on, she felt like her previous life was YellowStorm itself. So much that her previous memories and Cordelia's don't feel like they're clashing at all. Calling out Chase father was even feeling natural. And he also just called Count Bale my father. It was natural and a matter of factly. He realized that she was right. He did. Wait, that meant that they didn't come into the game. This meant that this was now the reality. This was dangerous. If it really is reality, that meant there was no way for them to return. Yep, and it just had to be this world. The truth was that Blades was destined to be destroyed by the great summoning ritual. Why in the world is Udyr from League of Legends in this manga? That is absolutely 100% Udyr. Wait, I'm putting a picture next to this one for you to see the resemblance. What the heck? This is Udyr from League of Legends. Laughing a bit, he says that it's not that bad after all. What was he saying? How was he able to laugh right now? It was just that both Udyr and Cornelia were off-meta characters. Though, coincidentally, he was a warrior and she was a magician. Ah, so they will have no problems in splitting items. Bingo! Will you make the party? To think that she will create a party now when she didn't make one in the last 5 years. Yep, I mean, waking up in a game world is absurd enough. But to have to party with the person who is always in the second place, this was such a bad situation. Annoyed, she turns to him saying, "What do you say, punk?" Anyway, considering how things were now, he asks her to cooperate with him. Nah, she was angry. What did he say before? Instead of getting angry, she had to calm down and listen. If this was truly reality, won't they be able to fix his sickness faster than in the game? As long as they obtain an item full of harsh yang energy, they should be able to clear the blocked pathways in one go. She wasn't trying to do everything by herself, right? They were doing a party play, right? Once he was going to get better, he was going to be a great help to her. Did she know that? Still pouting a bit, she says that yeah, she does. But that relies on them finding an item filled with yang energy. There was no such item in the vicinity. Smiling at her, he says no, there is one. They can find it at the Belkin Mountains. What? What was he talking about? The Belkin Mountains. She thinks for a second and then she realizes. Was he talking about the necklace of the sun? Seeing that she started yelling and screaming, he asks her to keep quiet. They were meeting in secret. Realizing how loud she was, she quickly covers her mouth. Was he insane? The necklace of the sun was an item dropped by Lace Gang. How could low levels like them kill him? Lace Gang was a mid-game boss. Both of them were level 1. Even so, he has been brainstorming and he has a solution. She was absolutely shocked. So he was saying that he found a way to beat a mid-game boss while being level 1? Yup, he did. So why don't they go on a date? Her reaction is priceless. What? Well, he was saying, why don't they ride a carriage and go on a date? Oh damn, look at this. This is drawn so nicely, holy. Two black horses were dragging along a beautiful carriage. She steps on a ladder, slowly getting out. They do their best to make small talk, talking about weather and how beautiful it was. Seeing the beautiful flowers, it was quite worth riding the carriage out here. Since their caretakers were basically observing them, they were playing their roles. He was saying that their beauty pales in comparison to Miss Cordelia's. On the other hand, she was like, what the fuck are you... Okay, I'm not saying that. She tells him that she really doesn't like him to tease her so much. He promptly interrupts her, saying that the view over there looks great. Would you like to go there with me? After that, they slowly start walking towards the direction and end up almost running away. Cordelia is like, fuck, I really can't do this. He really didn't care if she cursed, just she had to make sure that the others couldn't hear her. Also, they had to make sure to not walk fast, they might notice that they were trying to get further away. He was already nagging, forget about that, she wanted to hear the details regarding that plan of his. How could level 1s capture Lace Gang and receive the Necklace of the Sun? The Necklace of the Sun. This was an item that could suppress the powers of evil. It was dropped by Lace Gang of the Red Moon. Lace Gang was a powerful monster that appeared in the later half of Legends of Heroes 2. He was sealed in the Sun God's temple located in the middle of the Belkin Mountains. He never said anything about capturing him. What? Then what were they going to do? No reason to sweat over the details, he had his ways, so did she bring the stuff he asked for? Of course, he had a tough time since she hid them under the dress. Laughing a bit, he says as expected from his YellowStorm. Obviously triggered, she says that she doesn't remember becoming his YellowStorm. Just stop saying disgusting things. So, how are they going to do this? Pointing towards a random direction, he says that it's simple. Did she see that cliff over there? He checked it on his way there and that area matches the area in the game. Once they go to that area, she will carry him and jump off. She looked a bit confused. The Sun God's temple shows up if they just wrap around this flower bed and go down. Why do they have to jump off the cliff? He realized what was going on. Did she ever gone through the west path in the game? It was a shortcut. Hearing that, she was absolutely shocked. All blustered, she turns around saying that she knew that she was just testing him. But from her facial expression, it was more than obvious. They could have taken the long way just like she said, but they couldn't drag those two along with them. That way, both Maya and Dahlia, both whom cannot use magic, will have a difficult time following. However, it was dangerous, so they had to leave some insurance. Insurance? What did he mean by that? But first, he wanted her to promise that she will listen the whole plan without cursing. No hitting either. After a second of silence, she says, fine, now out with it. And once again, still a bit scared, he says, don't forget, you promised. He gets closer to her ear and tells her that after jumping off, using the fact that they were engaged. Yup, she started screaming. She basically bolts back blushing. What was he saying? Was he crazy? Well, if she didn't like his plan, did she have another plan? One that works? It looked like Maya and Dahlia were beginning to notice that something was up. Pulling on her head, really annoyed, she takes a second to think. After a while, she gives up. She was going to do what he suggested. Without further ado, they grab each other's hand and they just jump. Seeing what happened, of course, both of them started to panic. Even so, it was way too late to stop them, they were already on the edge of the cliff. While using magic to descend the hill, she was holding him in her arms. After they managed to land on the ground, they can hear their attendances calling out for them. What on earth were they doing? They better back up quickly, it was very dangerous. This was the part of the plan that she didn't like. After breathing in, she yells that she wants to spend some time alone with Sir Uder. He won't do anything inappropriate, he was a gentleman after all. They were going to be back before dinner, so they had nothing to worry about. Dahlia was still concerned, when did she get so close to Sir Uder? In any case, she shouldn't distance herself so far from her escorts, it was dangerous. Before she manages to finish her sentence, she gets interrupted by his maid. She said that she could also vouch for young master's gentleman demeanor. Even more annoying, she screams that that was not the problem at hand, wasn't it? This was their chance to scram. Before the escorts realized, they were already gone. She was absolutely annoyed. Why did she have to say that? She also had to carry him off the cliff and she was the one who made the excuse for it. Why was he shoving all the embarrassing stuff on her? He calmly tells her to stop being difficult. He has the 9 block in pathways, you know? How was he supposed to carry her with those thin, frail arms? And it was not like she was the only one who had done something embarrassing. He did one thing as well. He sent that letter requesting the date. No, scratch that. It was not a date. It was a carriage ride to the flowers fields. Maya was right next to him and watched him write the entire thing. She even suggested that he would change the opening line to Miss Cordelia, who I dearly long for. Maya's hobby was reading romance novels. Well, it wasn't too bad considering that she just had to shout that in front of those two. Even more annoyed, she asks him if he wants to die. Anyways, they should start walking, he was going to lead. That was the intention, but after a while, he was knocked down. What was going on? She thought that he was going to take the lead. Was he alright? He was definitely not okay, the 9 blocked in pathways were killing him. He was really frail. Out of nowhere, he asks her if she could carry him. Seeing that she wasn't really convinced, he asks her once again to carry him. They had to get there in time. She understood, but he had to stop saying stuff like that. He was raising her dead flags. Now that they were there, it looked exactly like what they saw in the game. She was exhausted. Were they going in the right direction? She gets no response. It felt like she was carrying a corpse. After a while, she realized that she had nothing to worry about. Finally, she was able to see the Temple of the Sun God. In the game, Lei's gang of the Crimson Moon was sealed here after fighting the Sun Paladin. So, this is what it felt like. She could tell immediately. She could tell what? Was she sensing something? There was a dialogue every time when you entered the Temple of the Sun God. What? The one that was like, you can feel the divine power of the Sun God? Yep. That one. It was just text in the game, but she could experience the feeling herself. She felt like her heart was being cleansed. Seeing how beautiful she looked, his heart skipped a bit. After a second, he realizes that he showed weakness. He was actually charmed for a second. Luckily for him, YellowStorm didn't notice. He had to calm down. Cordelia was supposed to have a very beautiful appearance. That was probably what made his heart flutter. He really hoped that it was not because YellowStorm herself. After recovering a bit, he kept following her. She was absolutely amazed, saying that it's just like the game, the entire room was built to contain Lei's gang. So, they're gonna face off against a demon who required this amount of effort to sail. Was he really sure that there was a way to beat it? Yep, he was absolutely sure. Could she hand over the stuff she prepared? Once again, saying Roger, she lifts up her skirt getting ready to take the items out. Obviously, she turns towards him, telling him to look in another direction. If he was going to turn around before she says so, he was dead. She brought so many items, potions, quills, papers. Seeing that, he started laughing at her a bit, saying that, whoa, you hid all that under your skirt? Obviously, she was a bit annoyed, saying that he's the sort of field who doesn't know the meaning of the word gratitude. Well, she was right. If it was just him, he would have hit a roadblock right now trying to make that potion. It was a good thing that the Chase household was known for its proficiency in magic. She was gloating in the compliments. After that, he got ready to start working. Smiling, he says that now it was his time to show off his skills. Watching him, she realized that he was drawing the Valestin's magic circle. Valestin's magic circle, the greatest work of a barrier master Valestin, who would have made a name for themselves in the second half of the Legend of Heroes. It had the risk of not being able to bind the demon it had bound before. And having a 3-minute time limit, it was also called Cup Ramen's magic circle. But as its strength scaled with the demon strength, it was a very powerful demon confinement magic circle. This was insane. How did he completely memorize that complicated thing? Teasing her a bit, he's like, okay, now it's your turn. Huh? Her? He was asking just in case, but she knew what that was, right? Annoyed, she yells at him saying that of course she does. Is that so? Then can she draw it as well? A bit flustered and scared, she's like, of course I know, who do you think I am? Outboxer was doing his best to hold his laugh. It was so obvious with how bad she was at lying. As she knew, because of his illness, he couldn't activate the magic circle. She had to do the activation herself. Of course, since she was only level 1, she wouldn't have the magic power to hold onto Li Zhang for 3 minutes. For the power, they will use the magic that's flowing through the seal on the Sun's god Solari. Meaning, they will use the power of the temple that sealed Li Zhang away and call upon the sealed one's real body for just a moment. She knew what she had to do. 1 drop of blood should be enough, right? Yup, that should be enough to activate it, so she had no reason to wound herself too much. Damn, look at her, she's a baddie. She doesn't even flinch and cuts her finger. With blood dripping out, she says magical circle activate. In that moment, the magical circle starts shining in a very bright red color. The moment the magical circle activated, the temple started to shake. She was already able to feel the sharp increase in mana density. The seal of Solari was going to break. Out of nowhere, a dark red color appeared flowing into the sky with chains coming out of it. Slowly but surely, a demon appeared out of the portal. He had chains all over his body. The demon was almost as tall as the ceiling. Valestin's magical circle activated properly. Li Zhang was chained up. It was a success. However, he was feeling like he was getting crushed under the pressure. A bit concerned, he turns towards Cordelia to see if she was alright. She was absolutely ecstatic. He attempts to talk with her, but she was way too hyped for that. She points towards the item on his hips. That was the necklace of the sun. Outboxer was absolutely livid. This girl was actually only thinking about getting the loot in this situation. She's shown absolutely no sign of being afraid. I'm telling you, she's a baddie. As happy as a child, she says that they got a hurry while it's still sleeping. With Cornelia's wand in his hand, he slowly approaches the demon and tries to basically steal the necklace. While she was cheering him from behind, she says, "Alright, I nearly got it." The demon opens its eyes. He was awake and was closely watching them. Seeing that, there was a moment of silence for all 3 of them. They got caught, they had to run. Realizing what was going on, the demon was as angry as you'd expect him to be. Screaming as hard as he could, he was saying that they were just some blasted insects. Outboxer falls onto the ground since he was still sick. The demon was still sealed, but he had this much power. He couldn't even put strength into his legs, he couldn't get up. This was a very frightening situation. At least for him. YellowStorm turns towards the demon, screaming at him, telling him to don't fuck around, he was chained. Even more, she starts casting magic missile and hits the demon. Outboxer didn't know what to say. What was she doing? Was she insane? Why did she provoke it? Tululum, level up. Seeing that, he stops for a second. What just happened? That was a level up effect, right? No way. Originally, Liz Gang was a powerful demon that you'd face in the second half of the game. If it was like the original, it would be a powerful boss mob that they wouldn't even be able to attack. But this became possible using the shortcut called Velastin's Magic Circle. Just doing 1 damage gave enough combat experience to level up. In that moment, both of them started calculating the experience gain using their gamer brains. An evil grin appeared on both of their faces. It was more than obvious what they had to do. She keeps casting magical missile over and over and over while the demon can't even fight back. Since she was level 1 and she didn't really have a lot of spells, she was basically spamming magic missile. Of course, she was more than happy, she was leveling up so much. Initially, she planned to dash after grabbing the item, but this was really lucky. Outboxer was still shocked. This punk. She was hitting all of the parts besides the steel chains holding them down. What kind of accuracy was that? Obviously, the demon was getting angrier and angrier. These weaklings, how dare they do this to him? Seeing what was going on, Outboxer decided that he will also level up. He was one with the blessing of the great sun Solari. Raising the necklace, he starts chanting, and I think he's trying to activate some kind of power. Because of the 9 blocked in pathways, he couldn't use magic like Cordelia. And because of the blocked key circuits, he couldn't use martial arts, so he will fight by being overgeared. He hits the demon, but it's more like a boop. He boops the demon for 1 damage. Even so, that 1 damage was more than enough to level him up. It's close to say that the demon hated them very much. YellowStorm was absolutely amazed that he managed to learn the prayer of the sun god. Velastin's magical circle can only be used once, so this was their only chance to do this. This was the only time they could abuse this, and they only had 1 minute left. For the remaining time, they kept spamming magic missile and blessing of the sun god Solari. After 1 minute, their time was up. He memorized their faces. He engraved their souls into his mind. On the day he's freed, he'll make them feel pain, immeasurable pain. He gets interrupted by Cordelia shooting 1 more shot. Even more annoyed, he tells them to listen. They were just some extras. He will definitely be seeing them again. Totally unfazed, they're like, yep, let's meet again on Act 7. It was fun meeting him and they'll meet again soon. They were absolutely unfazed. No trace of fear on their faces. After that exchange, the portal closed and the demon was gone once again. She exhales, absolutely satisfied. She already knew it, but he really was insane. She was not of the right mind either, plus she attacked first. So, was his 9 blocked in pathways getting better? Well, the extreme energies that were blocking all his pathways, he will have to melt them slowly with the power of the sun. So, long story short, it will take some time. Got it. Even so, they leveled up a bunch and obtained the items, so they should go back now. Leaning onto her, he says, yeah, let's go. A bit annoyed, she asks him what was he doing, does he want to get hit? He just wanted her to support him a bit, that was all. His legs were shaking, so it was really hard to walk. Smiling a bit, in the end she accepts. Overall, this was better than asking her to piggyback right back. On that night, when Uder and Cornelia got back home, they received a sentence of 10 days of house arrest. Even so, now they had an extra item. Some days later, he was resting inside his mansion. He was lying in bed absolutely exhausted, all his body was in pain. His body was so stiff he was dying. To think that running 10 laps around the training ground would be this tiring. Even so, his body was definitely improving due to the necklace of the sun. If that world was truly reality, their ultimate goal was survival. Blades is destined to be destroyed by the Great Summoning Ritual. Stopping the Great Summoning Ritual was their goal. But in order to achieve such a grand goal, a weakling who can barely run 10 laps around the training ground and a 1-star magicians are sorely lacking. Yep, no matter how much of a hurry they're in, now it was the time to hone the basics. Of course, he was not alone. He had Cordelia. Since it's been a week since retrieving the necklace of the sun, their house arrest ended in 3 days. He needed to slowly get ready for what was next. It was clear that Maya will be happy. In that moment, YellowStorm got a very bad shiver. What was that? That was a very bad feeling. If you go till this part, thank you, you're awesome. Question of the day. To be honest, my most burning question is, will they get together or not? Place your bets. Quick plug, now we have a Twitter page for anyone who wants updates for future videos. And also, for those who would like to support the channel, I also opened the Patreon page, so feel free to join there as well. And I'm done. Back to the video. She basically felt that Outboxer Punk was scheming something. This is how she was seeing him. In that moment, she gets interrupted by somebody knocking on her door. Obviously, she tells the person to come in. Her assistant was as happy as they get. She received a love letter from young Master Yuder. Receiving it, she was getting ready to read some cringe. Why was she that excited? Well, this was great news. She lost her appetite the past few days because of her worry over young Master Yuder. But this letter should lessen her worries. What does she mean? She was totally eating a lot. She ate so much she gained 1 whole kilogram. Also, she apologizes for getting upset last time during the last picnic. When she saw her hold young Master Yuder and jump off that Belkine mountain, she thought it was a very dangerous thing to do. She was there, but she couldn't protect her at all. However, she understood later on. She understood that young Miss had found someone that she could truly be with. That day, Maya taught her something big. It looks like Maya corrupted her. Just what the hell did that maid say? After that, she hands her the letter. She better read it quickly and get rid of it. To Miss Cordelia, who I truly long for. That was a critical hit for her. She hated every single letter of it. There must be some kind of hidden joke that can only be read by reading the first letter of each line, right? She was absolutely sure that he was just pulling a prank, but in that moment she saw it. Only the final sentence was written in Korean. It was an invitation to the temple of Varuna. Varuna, the god of the hidden evil. The guardian and protector that presides over secrets. In the temples of Varuna built all over the continent, not just in one kingdom, exists a place to not only share one's personal little secrets, but also a place where you can share state secrets. The absolutely perfect, flawless confessional. Was there something in there? She was sure that he was not trying to confess his sins of making fun of her. Well, if it was Outerbox 009, he wouldn't ask to meet up for nothing. She tells Dahlia that she wants to meet him at the temple of Varuna 2 days from then. Hearing that, she was absolutely ecstatic, requesting a date the day they are no longer forbidden from going out. It looked like young Master Yuder also really wanted to see her. Okay, listen, side note. I don't know if it's annoying for you guys when you're listening to this, if I laugh so much, but I'm reading the manga as I narrate, so I'm actually reading this for the first time. And if it's annoying, I'll try to tone it down a bit from the next episodes. Anyway, she will go to the temple of Varuna in 2 days. Giving her the thumbs up, she says that this time she will probably make time for just the 2 of them. While thanking her, YellowStorm was dead inside. 2 days later. Once again, a carriage was going through the city. After a while, they arrive at the temple. She tells her to enjoy her trip. She was planning to stay around there so the 2 of them could have some cozy time together. Still a bit dead inside, she says, yeah, thanks a lot. This was not a date, it was just a 2-person quest. This was just a 2-person quest. She takes the stairs and arrives at the temple and starts looking around to find Outboxer. From inside, she hears a voice telling her to come in. He waves at her, a little bit surprised that she came on time. Oh wait, I think I get it. They're using just YE from YellowStorm and O from Outboxer. They're basically having code names, like the start of their original in-game nicknames. How did he borrow the temple's confessional? Did he get a hold of their weakness or something? Weakness? People would misunderstand if they heard what she just said. Money. It was money. He was the son of a real earl, remember? If his father would hear their 17 years old young master saying something like that, they would be really shocked, dude. They still haven't returned from the expedition, so she had nothing to worry about. Anyway, why did he call her there? There was nothing there. What, did she really think that he would write that letter if he didn't have a reason? He called her there because there was a hidden event. Hearing that, she had absolutely no clue of what he was talking about. What was he saying? There was nothing written about the Temple of Varuna on the forum. Of course there was nothing written there, he was the only one that knows it. He can't upload every hidden event's information when he struggles so much to find it, right? Hearing that, she goes absolutely berserk. Wait a second, he doesn't upload all his strategies to the forum? Of course he uploads them, but only the ones that others know. What, did she upload everything? There was a moment of silence. Even me as a gamer, I know that it's bad. Like if you are competitive, especially if you're rank 1 or 2, you don't upload everything. You keep secrets to yourself. Realizing this, she goes absolutely crazy. She knew that it was strange. There was a reason why she couldn't catch up to him no matter how hard she hunted. I mean, he didn't expect her to naively show everything off. Anyway, so what was it? What was the hidden event? She didn't call her over there to help him with something that will only benefit him, right? It isn't like the necklace of the sun, right? Look at her saying that, but she was so happy when she leveled up by hitting Li's gang though. There was something for him and there was also something for her. Deep in the temple's library, there was a hidden dungeon book. A dungeon book was a book that transports the person who opened the book into a dungeon. There are times when the dungeon they are transported to is in a simulated space, but there are also times when the dungeon they are transported to is a real place. The reward for clearing the dungeon is a skill book that can teach a martial arts skill and a magic skill. The martial arts skill is a footwork skill, but he did not beat the dungeon yet with a magician. So he didn't know what skill book she will get. Wait, he didn't beat it yet. Then that means... Indeed, it meant that she will become the first person to clear the Temple of Varuna's simulated dungeon as a magician. The first. She was going to be the first. Hearing that, it looked like she was in love. As a gamer myself, I can vouch that it would be amazing to know that you are the only one who has a skill in a game. Hearing that, she was ready to go. So where was that dungeon book? The temple library? Nope. To her right. He already got it before she arrived there. After saying that, he gently points towards a book that was laying right next to them. As expected from Outboxer. Then, should they go right now? Seeing how excited she was, he agrees. It was time to enter. Back outside, Maya saw a strange light coming from the door, but she didn't question it. The book activated and both of them got transported into the dungeon. The only evidence left was a faint trail of magic coming from the book. Dungeon Book of the Temple Varuna. You are entering the simulated dungeon. YellowStorm was feeling sick. She was not alright, and why was he fine and dandy? It was pissing her off. How should he know? She was basically having teleportation sickness. After a while, she finally felt alive again. So, this was inside the Dungeon Book of the Temple Varuna, right? Yep, and it looks identical to the game. Since this was a simulated dungeon, when you die you just get sent out of the book. Reassuring, right? She got triggered. She was the second in the servers. She was going to clear it on her first attempt, so stop saying such disheartening things. Also, if you get hit, the pain is still the same, so what did he mean by reassuring? Well, they could get real life experience without having to worry for their lives, so that was a total win. Since he was so sure about this, was it safe to assume that his 9 blocked in pathways are getting better? Well, yes, although only by a bit. Also, she was there, so he had nothing to worry about. Hearing him say that, she instantly realized that he was plotting something. What does he mean? Why would he mention her all of a sudden? He meant exactly what he just said. He, rather than hunting, tends to look into people, events and items. He tends to dig into all variables in the game and obtain achievements. He was the planning type. On the other hand, she was the battle queen who achieves points through raw damage. If you only consider the number of monsters hunted, then YellowStorm doubles Outboxer's numbers, since he brought the dungeon book, which only he knew about, to the table. He was suggesting that she will carry him when it will come to the fighting aspect of that dungeon. So he was saying that since he called her there for battle, he will just ride along. Well, that was fine by her because this time she was feeling confident because of what she brought. She tells him to turn around for a moment to take more items out of her skirt. Ta-da! Magic stones. When they were against Li's gang, she could only attack with magic missiles, but this time it was different. When he called her over, she thought that something was definitely going to happen, so she hid these in her dress. They were not just normal magic stones, they were made by her father, one of the 4th Great Northern Powers. Also, the founder of the famous magician household, the Chase family. Laughing at her a bit, he says, "Whoa, I feel so secure. This should be one of Cordelia's trump cards." She was gloating. Seeing how she was showing off everything from the very beginning, she was the very same YellowStorm from the Legends of Heroes forum. Yep, the magical stones were amazing, but he had a trick up his sleeve as well. Pulling out about 50 different scrolls and magical circles, he's like, "I'll give you this." They were 1-star magic circles. Also, it looked like they were lightning attribute. Basic magic scrolls, 1 star. Papers that can activate magic without chanting, dare to use. He can't just do nothing while hiding behind her. So he made magic scrolls with various attributes all usable at her level. Wait a second, made? That was insane. Then that means he memorized all of those. Realizing that she was impressed, he's like, "What's up? Aren't you also able to draw magic circles at this level?" She turns around flustered and says, "Of course I can." Just looking at how flustered she was, he was having so much fun teasing her. Anyway, could she inject some magic power into them? In that state, they are just scraps of paper. Her magical power? Wait, before that, what did he mean by from behind? Was he telling her that a magician should stand in the front line? Well, about that. Unfortunately, he happens to be someone who can't use mana because the blocked 9 in pathways. That damn curse, did he lose the necklace of the sun before he could use it for all 10 days? Well, he told her that it doesn't heal instantly. He even brought these mana potions and some armor for her. He was planning to use her as a magic power shuttle from the start. Also, damn those stupid mana potions. In the game, she could knock them back to back like crazy, but in real life, she was feeling bloated. But was she sure that she doesn't need to wear any armor? Well, her current outfit was already at her weight limit. If she added the weight of the armor, she wouldn't be able to move freely. Yep, he already knew that. Now that he was looking at her, he was wondering if she was nervous. This should be her first real-life experience. Li's gang was tied up, so calling it real-life experience is a bit too much. At that time, they weren't in the right state of mind because they were too busy leveling up. He decided that he should tease her a bit to relieve some tension. Before he had enough time to do that, they could hear a sound coming from in front of them. Right there, when she cuts to the left, they'll pop out right away, so she should be prepared. Indeed, she was a bit anxious, but was doing her best to hide it. Of course, he notices that her face was stiff. He was a bit worried, but it'll be okay since he will be supporting her from behind. He was sure that the attribute of the first goblins that appeared there was dark attribute, so instantly he rips out one of the light attribute pergaments. He goes, "Go, YellowStorm, I choose you." He looks like Ash from Pokemon. Wait, she's Pikachu, look at her, she's Pikachu, that is so awesome. Wait, there's more, and she's like, Storm. That's her name. The moment she attacks them, she starts casting magic missile. And not just one, 5 continuous strikes in the same time. Reinforcements will be heading over there from the next block after hearing that noise. This time they're going to be earth attributes. He was providing very useful information. They had no reason to rush, it was not time yet, they will have to get closer. For now, the dungeon looked empty. The best timing was the moment that the enemy was getting into her line of sight. And that moment was right now. This time she cast a new spell, Slip and Fall Grease. Followed by, she gets interrupted. Followed by Bind, right? He rips the scrolls and the goblins instantly get binded. After making them fall over, linking it with binding magic was her speciality. Here, mana potion. A bit annoyed, she takes the mana potion, staring daggers at him. When she was done drinking that, they had to regroup. Unlike that time with the Liz gang, these low-level monsters need to be exterminated for experience to flow in. YellowStorm agreed. She really wished she had a 2 times XP potion before killing them. Varuna simulated dungeon 5 hours later. She was exhausted. When she was playing the game, all she had to do was click a ton, but when it was real life, her legs would hurt like hell. He thought that he heard a similar line before. Yup, it was with the mana potions. He asks her if she was tired. They might be resting along the way, but a lot of the time has passed. Since it was her first time training in real life, it might be overwhelming. She looks at him a bit surprised. Was he actually concerned? Then she decides that this was annoying. Because the first real life training is like that, is he asking her this while already knowing it's tough? Well, in the first place, coming that far at that level was already a miracle. The monster levels were higher and they have several attributes. So the dungeon difficulty should be fucking hard. But the hunting was easy, so what was there to cry about? Uther Bale brand Dungeon Book of the Temple Varuna map. Dungeon Book, main monsters, 10 years of color review series 1, goblins, dark attribute, fire attribute, water attribute and earth attribute. His knowledge of monsters' weakness and attributes as well as the knowledge of the terrain was perfect. Not only the dungeon strategy but the magic spell support was also toughed out. He perfectly considered and prepared what would be necessary and when. This punk, did he also play support character often? Or as annoying as it may be, do you need to be that good to be rank 1? He noticed that her expression suggests that she has a lot of complaints. But if she voiced them out, it would point out her flaws, so she seems to hold them back. He could tell just from her face, so it was really funny for him. Anyway, should they continue or rest a bit? It was fine, her feet were hurting because she walked a lot. Also, she was feeling bloated because she's been drinking too many mana potions. Also, she was being fucking angry because his level was higher than hers, since obviously he kept getting the last hits. Besides that, she was doing fine. Obviously, teasing her, he's like, oh no, this isn't good. It was always like this, but to be the second place again, she must be very upset. And indeed, she was. Other than that, was she doing alright? Yes. Still laughing at her, he says then let's go to the boss room. She tells him to stop laughing, he was just an evil bastard, he should prepare himself. Anyway, they've been in that dungeon for a while now. How much time has passed in reality? She doubted that the exact same 5 hours have passed out since they're still there. He thinks for a while and says 20 minutes in the Temple of Varuna's dungeon book is 1 minute in outside, so about 20 minutes, why? Well, a lot of time has passed. Dahlia said that she would come for her in 30 minutes. Will they be fine? Well, that was something they didn't need to worry about because they arrived in the boss room. A large double door was in front of them. She was feeling a bit intimidated. It was practically advertising that the boss was behind that wall. And she was absolutely right, it looked like the boss room. It was a furry wolf. There were an endless number of goblins, but the boss is a furry wolf? And the furry wolf has a lightning attribute, so monster with a new attribute is coming out again. He starts clapping, as expected from his YellowStorm the no life. Not only does it have the lightning attribute, it's also fast. So this time they will both have to move continuously. And also one more thing. She turns around annoyed to him. What was it this time? Before he gives her the signal, don't attack, just focus on dodging. She was really hoping that he was not planning to steal the last hit again. He laughs it off saying, what kind of person do you think I am? He proudly says that he can't do that against a boss monster that they might or not be able to kill. She knew it, he was trying to steal the last hits on those goblins on purpose, right? So, what was it? Was this different from a normal furry wolf? There must be a reason why he was telling her to wait, right? Without saying anything, he takes out even more pergaments. It was nothing like that, it's just that there's something they needed to prepare beforehand. Without further ado, they enter the boss room. Furry wolf, level 17, electric type. The wolf was looking at him, and she noticed it as well, laughing at him, saying that hey, it's looking at you. It looked like it was planning to attack him first. After 1 second, the wolf starts walking towards them. Both of them noticed it and got ready to dodge, knowing that it was not going to just slowly walk to them. As expected, the wolf jumps into the air with his claws out, getting ready to kill him. Just in the nick of time, he manages to barely dodge the attack. After dodging, he calls out for YellowStorm, who was already getting ready to attack. He was already aware of the fact that wolf-type monsters are idiots who could only attack in a straight line. After the wolf attacked, YellowStorm ripped out one of the pergaments binding the monster, and her trademark follow-up, grease on the floor. As expected, the wolf falls onto the ground. The furry wolf's quick movements were their biggest concern while fighting it. But it also has a weakness: it's extremely easy to predict its attack patterns. So if they are able to restrain its legs, it should be easy to kill him, but even when she used that item, because of the difference in levels, the time that the furry wolf is bound was too short. It becomes more disadvantage for them the longer they drag it out, so she calls out for Outboxer. He needed to finish that preparation work really quick. It looked like he was ready. Then from this point on, he will begin his preparations. After ripping one of the scrolls, he hits the boss with a lightning spell. She got really pissed. Why the hell was he attacking after telling her not to? But after thinking for a second, she realized something was wrong. He was using lightning? In that moment, the monster broke the chains. It was heading her way. Since the monster's attack were in one direction, she manages to easily dodge it. This was strange. She was sure that he was attacking it continuously. But for some reason, the monster looked like it didn't take a single bit of damage. Furthermore, she had a feeling that something didn't match up. Outboxer gets up saying that it's still lacking and calls out for Cordelia. He tells her to use some water attribute magic. A second later, she takes out a blue magical stone and casts a water pole. After that, another lightning is cast. As expected, the combination of those two works better. Now they just had to do a little bit more. YellowStorm was thinking to herself, maybe it was just because she got irritated, but watching he get all excited by himself was annoying. And the cherry on top, one more lightning. She was still very uneasy. She had a very ominous feeling. Something was wrong. Also, she couldn't help but not imagine that Imagine Dragons song playing in her ears. What was it? Was it related to that song? What about thunder? Why thunder? Feel the thunder. And what does it have to do with the feeling of something not matching up? In that moment, she remembered the wolf had a lightning attribute. It was more than obvious. How did she not realize this before? Wait a fucking minute. They've been hitting the lightning attribute furry wolf with lightning. She quickly turns towards Outboxer, but then she realizes no matter how many times they hit a lightning attribute monster with lightning attribute spells, it looked like a horn appeared on the forehead of the monster. It gets up in rage and screams as loud as it could. The only thing a lightning spell would do in this situation would just become fuel to make the monster more powerful. Bingo! It properly awakened. Outboxer was proud of herself, but YellowStorm was pissed. She turns towards him really angry. He was a piece of shit. The thing he had to prepare was straightening the boss? Well, defeating the awakened wolf is the required hidden condition to obtain the B rank skill book. Then he should have just told her. Laughing at her, he says, well, that wouldn't be fun. But then he realized he was way too honest. YellowStorm was absolutely pissed. Smiling at her, he gives her even more magical circles. They should just quickly get rid of this guy and take their B rank spell. While still looking at him, she breaks one of the scrolls. Behind her, an explosion appeared, hitting the wolf right head on. She looks at him with that look saying, I will kill you. Seeing her, he says, okay, I will tell you next time. But she still hated him. They were in a bit of a pickle, so he was going to let her finish cursing at him later. But for now, the boss was coming. But because the attack trajectory was so simple, as long as they get the timing right, they can dodge it. Right as they think that, the monster starts dashing towards them. Furry wolf and other wolf race monsters have a common trait: powerful length trait and a linear attack pattern that uses the charge like a bullet. So regardless of levels, as long as you have good controls, this monster is a pushover. But game and reality are two different things. Right after the monster finished its charge, he got ready for another one. Since she didn't expect this, Cordelia barely managed to dodge this. It changed directions by using the pillar as a launch pad. Its combat pattern must have changed because it ranked up. It was going to take a follow-up attack by switching directions of its charge. So which way was it going to jump this time? She may be able to follow its attack with her eyes, but there was no guarantee that she will be able to dodge it again. The wolf was getting ready to attack. In that moment, it looked like Outboxer noticed something. He turns around and starts walking in that direction. Out of nowhere, she can hear him falling onto the ground. He was laying down and all the magical scrolls were scattered. This really concerned her since she understood what was going on. This was really bad timing. Outboxer tripped on a rock and was not able to get up in time. The wolf noticed that immediately and started dashing towards him. It instantly bounces about 3 times on pillars and was getting ready to kill him. Why now of all times she starts casting her magic as fast as she could. The magical missiles start flying towards the wolf while she was calling out his name. Out of nowhere, it looked like the wolf absorbed her magic. All the missiles hit the target, but they had absolutely no effect. The wolf actually nullified her magic. It was too late now. The wolf was right next to him, getting ready to strike him down. She was starting to panic. She had nothing else to do. In that moment, knowing that he will die, memories of him started flooding into her head. They just kept going and going and going. The wolf was too fast. She couldn't do anything to stop it. While screaming his name, absolutely terrified, the monster was whimpering uncontrollably on the ground. What was going on? Also, what was that smell? Outboxer was laughing. Dogs have a 10,000 greater sense of smell than humans. Now, this furry wolf should have even greater abilities after awakening, so there was no way it should be able to withstand that. It was a special sand bomb created by fusing various items. No matter how much experience you get from goblins, you can't level up enough to a point where you can defeat a furry wolf through traditional means. So he prepared something to neutralize the furry wolf, with a means that's only possible because this wasn't a game but reality. And trump cards should always be pulled out in the last second. While turning red out of anger, she had a flashback about dragging. Even so, the smell was so strong that it was actually getting to him. Seeing how pathetic he looked, she managed to calm down. Still, a solution simply has to work. He was a result-oriented no-life gamer. Wow, he looked super fucking lame. But he was right. Also a result-oriented no-life gamer. Anyway, now they have to kill it. With a smirk smile on her face, she says that it's time for his own medicine. And what do you know, this picture is good for the thumbnail. I bet this picture will be in the thumbnail. She cast a new spell, Dig, a terraforming magic that creates a hole in the ground. Of course, she had to cast it multiple times. Dig dug, dig dug. Outboxer was thinking of Dugtrio, another Pokemon reference. Now then, it was time for them to bid him goodbye. The poor wolf was at the bottom of the hole looking helplessly at them. While they took some distance from the explosion, she realized something. She forgot that this was a simulated dungeon. She was so worried about him for absolutely no reason. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I enjoyed every single minute of this video. I think that YellowStorm and Outboxer are one of the best comedic duos I've seen in like a long time. I will definitely continue this series because I have enough chapters for like another 3 videos or something like that. I'm planning that every week we will have episode 1 of a new series and then another episode of a series that was already started. So 2 episodes per week. Thank you for watching until this point. Hit that like button, subscribe and comment literally anything. It helps the video.